Hello everyone, it's James here today and I am joined by Michael Lawson of Lawson Lettings on this week's episode of This Property Life podcast. Michael, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks, it's great to be here. It's nice to be on the podcast. Long-time listener.
Oh, it's fantastic. Michael actually got in touch with us to say I've been a long-time listener and I'd really like to feature on there. I'm sort of an investor myself. So your story, I kind of know a bit about you, and I think our listeners are going to be really excited to hear about what you've done, how you've done it, and the way in which you've done it as well, because your story into property is slightly different to kind of a lot of other people's in the fact that you don't even live in the country that you invest in.
Yeah, so I'm based in Dubai. I've been out here for 8 years now. I work for an education business out here in their sales and business development team. And yeah, I've been building up my business remotely over the past, really over the past 15 years, but really seriously over the past sort of 3 to 4 years when I really started thinking, treating it like a business as opposed to, some little pension pot or, a little kind of side hustle. And since those, we really start treating it like a business, we've grown exponentially, which has been, it's been such an interesting journey and a fun thing to be part of. And we've built up quite a significant portfolio now. I'm really focused on two small areas in the east of Scotland. It's specific postcodes, it's KY16 and DD6, which for those not in the know, it ain't some great spot to be investing in, but it's where I'm from. It's what I know.
So it's home. It's kind of, have you got sort of family back there still then?
Yeah, so mum and dad are there. So it's a bit of a family business. Mum works full time for the business. She's employed by the business. Dad kind of helps out with handyman stuff. I've got this great uncle who's, in his late 70s now, which he works pretty much every day for the business as well. He works like an absolute Trojan. It's a bit of a family sort of affair, and that's how we've got it set up. And I think that's, honestly, if I'm perfectly candid, there's no way I could have done this without my family support as well. My family are from this background. Mum and dad had property back before this whole buy-to-let game was a thing. They didn't even know it was a buy-to-let thing. They were buying houses for pennies back in the day around the kind of Northeast Fife area.
So were they buying kind of at a time when it was a buyer's market and they were able to buy the properties below market value, or were they kind of waiting for the prices to increase before they were refinancing?
No, they were just buying them on like they would just buy them on like whatever they could to kind of get the money together, whether it be loans or using like mortgages, things like that. And then they would wait like a year or two, then refinance them out and do it that way, or even wait 6 months, refinance them out. But I kind of grew up in this world where my parents were always renting, and we always had in one small town, this little village called Tapor, which is, there's no real reason to know Tapor other than the fact it's a lovely little sort of village with a nice harbour and a really old golf course. That's about it. But the good thing about it is it's about 5 miles from Dundee and 10 miles from St Andrews. So you're right in the middle of two really top university towns. So you've kind of got the overflow from that. And also the hospitals nearby and stuff as well. So actually it's kind of that perfect area it feels rural, but it's right in the middle of kind of lots of job opportunities.
What's kind of the population of it? Because sometimes we get students who are looking for an area to invest in, and sometimes we're kind of like, that feels too small an area. But if you're investing in a small area, then obviously maybe it can work.
It's a village. I mean,
it's literally a village.
You're talking like 5,000 people. It's tiny. There's nothing of note that to kind of they would draw an investor there if you don't know. But I know because I'm from there. Yeah. I know all little areas. And the thing about it as well, it's funny, I've seen other investors come in and buy in parts of the town, and I'm looking at it going, oh, good luck with that, because I know that's a really rough area. But you wouldn't know unless you're from there. So I've just invested in what I know and where I know. We are quite big now. So we try to kind of treat it like a business. We're growing it like a business. We try to be a really responsible landlord as well. The regulations are such now, particularly in Scotland, you need to be running as a really responsible business that's supporting your tenants, that's building quality homes for good people. Let me give you an example. Over the past sort of 18 months, a huge thing we've been doing is investing in EPCs. So EPC, we all know EPC upgrades are coming down the pipe. In Scotland, they'll come a lot faster than England because the greens are really powerful in Scotland.
Everything does come quicker in Scotland, doesn't it, as well?
Yeah. And you know what? There's a lot of policies Scottish government policies I disagree with. But frankly, the EPC policy is something I feel quite strongly about. I'm quite pro-environment, and I actually really believe that you should be creating decent homes for decent people. That's the way I feel about it. And for me, if is it spending a couple of grand to put down some loft insulation, is it 2 or 3 grand for a new boiler? Do it.
It's worth doing. You're investing in your own asset long term, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, as well, I think you've got a responsibility as a landlord as well. You've got a responsibility to provide quality homes. People are paying top dollar. My property is not cheap. You can get cheaper houses on any street that I've got properties on. You could find something cheaper. But the good thing why people come to Lawson Lettings is because they know, firstly, we won't take the piss out of you. We won't be difficult with you. We won't be challenging with you. We won't boot you out after a certain period. If there's a repair, it's going to get done same day. We've got loads of tradesmen that work with us because we're the biggest in the game in that area. Everything's going to be well taken care of. So that's why we're charging a premium on that, but it's a premium for service, right? We have no issues renting our properties at all because people know what they are, they know their qualities.
And so did you start investing, Michael, before you moved from Scotland to Dubai, or did you only really start investing heavily yourself once you were in Dubai?
So I lived in London before Dubai, and basically when I moved down to London, I had a couple of properties, and I hadn't really given them much conscious thought, to be honest with you. All I knew is mum and dad said buy a house. If you got a bit of money, just buy a house. So I was just, every time I got a 25% deposit. I mean, houses are quite cheap in Scotland. You can get, a 2-bed, back then you were getting 2-bed flats for 70 grand, 60 grand. So I bought a couple, and then when I moved to London, I just kept on doing it. I was in London for about 6 years, working down there. And I didn't really imagine living in London. I didn't really imagine building a life there. I was always going to go back to Scotland or somewhere else. So what I started doing is just every time I got a bit of money together, every time I got a bonus from my job, I work in sales, so it's all bonus driven, right? So often you get big chunks of money throughout the year. I would just buy another house. And after about 6 years in London, I had about 10 houses in total. And then I moved out to Dubai. All I was doing when I first moved to Dubai was just paying down the properties. And then about 3-4 years ago, I decided, you know what, I need to be doing something different. I can't be, working like I am until, I'm in my 60s. So I started thinking, like, what's this? Could I invest in the property business? It does all right for me. What if I really focused on it? The cash flow is pretty good on it. So I went away, and all those houses I had sitting there, I just refinanced them all, and I pulled the money out, and I just started buying. And we bought heavy. The first year we bought 18 houses. Second year we bought, I think, 16. And then the third year we bought 15. Last year we bought, I think, 6 or 7 in the end. We bought a couple of shops and a garage as well.
How do you find the stock when you're investing in such a small village, when you're living however many thousand miles away? What's your kind of sourcing plan? How are you finding these deals, Michael? Because people are struggling to find deals in an area that they're spending time in. So for you, that's not even there. What's your kind of that marketing plan?
Yeah, so we're quite known. We've had houses there for 20 odd years now. So people know that we're always looking to buy stuff if stuff's coming up. We did a lot of Facebook ads, and they didn't bring in much, but people just come to us. A lot of it's like, my mum's going to a home and we just want to get rid of it, and the care home's going to take the money anyway, so what can you give us for it? You know what I mean? We just want a quick sale, or we've got this really rundown property, we're a bit embarrassed to put it on the market, or my husband and wife and I are breaking up and we don't want the world to know about it because you just
a lot of it's word of mouth referrals.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what we do. We also offer pretty much everything on the market. Literally, like, stuff will come in the market and we'll be like, oh yeah, we're expecting your call today. How are you getting on? Yeah. They're not going to take that offer. Don't be silly. Give us a call in 2 weeks and we'll see where we're at with it. And I just do that, to be honest with you. That's really what we've done with it. I bought a couple of small portfolios, but like 4 or 5 houses here and there from kind of retiring investors. That's worked quite well. And I think right now, I mean, I genuinely believe that we have the opportunity of a century coming up in the next 12 months. I think it's going to go, particularly in Scotland, because we've got this mad S&P Green Alliance that have created rent caps in Scotland. And it's the perfect storm for investors. We're seeing it already. We're seeing portfolios popping up everywhere in Scotland. I spoke to a guy the other week. He's underwater already. Basically, he had these properties he had about 50 odd properties for the past 12. He bought them all in 2006. He had them all on trackers since 2006. He just kept them on trackers because why would you change it? Whether with the financial crisis or not, it didn't really matter. The trackers were so low, he was just renting them and living, and rather than paying them down, he was living off the cash flow. And now what's happened is those trackers have gone up to like 8-9%, and he's absolutely underwater. They can't afford the mortgage payments. The bank's taking back the portfolio. So suddenly there's all these portfolios going to come up onto the market. Similarly, if you go on things like, the Scottish Property Podcast, or there's a Spin, it's a Facebook page for landlords in Scotland. Every second post is, I've been a great landlord all my days. I never put my rent up, and woe is me. And now the mortgage is this, and I'm losing £100 a month, and I've got to pay tax on this money. It's mad, isn't it? Well, frankly, you should have been paying attention to legislation. You should have knew what was coming. I saw this coming for a year ago. I put all my rents up 12 months ago. 18 months ago, before the legislation even came in. Everyone saw it coming. Everyone knew what was coming. People just didn't act. And those who didn't act are now going to be in trouble in the next 12 to 18 months. And it's your chance to go in and, frankly, rescue them, sort them out, especially if you're a cash buyer. We've been buying cash right now, because the rates are so high. So what we've been doing is buying cash the properties. And the idea is to try and bring down our overall loan to value within the portfolio and make it a bit more sustainable. So as well, when the rates change in 2 or 3 years' time, you can go and try and get that more mainstream lending from your big kind of high street banks, as opposed to relying heavily on the challenger banks. But the rates are always going to be higher because they're taking their money from the secondary market. So.
And something else that's a little bit unique about you, Michael, is that you are still full-time employed. So you're doing this alongside a full-time job.
Yeah, I love my job. I really like what I do. I went to university for 5 years to have the qualifications to get the kind of job I'm in. I get to travel all over the world and meet interesting people. I don't know why I'd want to quit that to go and do refurbs and stuff like that. I would rather, plus I don't really know much about houses. I don't know much about property. I'd rather go and hire in expert staff that can do that and then use my funds to pay for it.
And I guess the upside of having secondary income, having that kind of full-time job, the income that the portfolio brings in, you don't really need to use. So you can be using that to reinvest. You can be using that to pay down debt, and that's allowing the business to grow because you're not kind of taking cash flow from it, I presume.
Yeah, so I pay myself a salary every month, but I don't physically take the money. I just put it back into the director's loan account, and it just grows the director's loan account of the business. So if one day I want to move back to the UK, for example, which you never know how life turns out, then I would be able to sort of draw down that money at that point. But yeah, I don't take money out of the business. I never have taken money out of the business. I kind of don't really see the point in taking money out of the business. I've got a good job. I live within my means. I'm not living some big lavish lifestyle, that I need to sort of support that. So yeah, that's the sort of the main benefit.
And in terms of, so you're not physically going to view these properties, I presume, that you're buying. If you're buying 16 a year and you're living in Dubai all the time, what's the kind of the purchase process for you when you're not there? Because I'm sure we've got some listeners who are overseas thinking, I'd love to get into property, but I'm not there myself. So how do you do it, Michael?
Yeah, sometimes I'll send my mom or my dad or one of the builders round if it's pretty run down. But to be honest with you, if the numbers work, the numbers work. I can look at we're buying the same house over and over and over again. We're buying in Scotland, we have streets and streets of 4-bed cottage flats. And that's generally what we buy. We buy 2-bed cottage flats. You know what they are? Block of 4. And
yeah.
You know what I mean? We have streets and streets of them all over Scotland. And I buy them because they're pretty well built, pretty well maintained by the council. And they're good quality and they rent really well. So kind of what people want. They're big room sizes, stuff like that. So I buy them. And frankly, once you've been in one, you've been in them all. They all look the same. The layouts are the same. The stuff's the same.
How much the cost to put it right is probably going to be the same.
Exactly. Well, if it's right, the kitchen is done, the bathroom is done, what's going to cost that? It's going to cost that. You're thinking, oh, well, you're going to be 2.5 for the kitchen, maybe 2 for the bathroom. You know what I mean? Paint and decorate, that's another 1,500. You know what I mean? You do your maths, and the numbers work, If they don't work, don't buy it. That's kind of the way we've done it. I mean, out of the properties we bought in the last few years, I've viewed probably half. I've never viewed most of them. Someone has viewed probably half of them. Most of them I've never even been in. It's funny because my mum was on holiday for about 3 weeks, and I was back home in Scotland, kind of like helping out and being present. And the builders were, oh, do you know where the fuse box is? And I'm thinking, man, I don't even know where the keys are. Never mind the fuse box. So yeah, it's one of those things that I try to kind of be quite hands off. I try not to be in the business too much. That's why I employ staff. It may be my mother, but she's employed by the business. Yeah. I treat her like I would treat any staff members. So that's kind of the way we run it. We've got a bunch of tradesmen we've worked with for quite a long time now, and we're really good with our tradesmen. We always pay them straight away. They do the invoice today, they get paid today. We never take the piss out of people. We work with them really closely. We're decent with them, and they kind of go the extra mile for us. And I think that makes a difference. And they don't take the piss, because the thing is, if they take the piss, they ain't getting a job next time. And you know what? We had a lot of this during COVID. Lads been like, oh yeah, the prices have gone this and the price have gone that. And I'm thinking, no bother, I'll find someone else. And then they're all creeping out the woodwork now saying, oh, there's all that work I was doing during COVID's dried up because no one's got any money anymore. Well, we've moved on. Do you know what I mean? Because, we reward loyalty. And the reality is, we've got 70 odd houses. We'll have work in 10 years' time for the same lads. So, it'll be the base of their business. Will be doing our bathroom renovations or doing our boiler installations, and they'll always have work with us. Always, they'll be doing our EICRs and our gas safeties and helping with EPC upgrades and stuff. They'll always have work with us, because the reality is we can give them work a couple of days a week, every week.
Yeah. So when and everything's in house for you, obviously. Lawson Lettings, you kind of buy them, you rent them out yourself, so you kind of the team manage them for you. When it comes to the vetting of the tenants, is there sometimes any times when people have come in that and that are kind of looking to rent, and you kind of still got to credit check somebody that and what does that look like when it's
we credit check everyone? So we use Vouch. I don't know if you guys use Vouch. I pay a subscription fee to it every month. It's like 35 quid a month to have a subscription fee to it, and I can do up to 5 tenancies a month on it. We do everyone goes through Vouch, and you should do it through Vouch because it pulls all the pertinent data, things like right to rent. It pulls things like references, guarantor references, and so it pulls everything there. And then what we do is all of our legal work is done by our lawyers. So in Scotland, it's a tenancy, right? You can print it off the internet, off the government website. But frankly, if I was to go and say, Mum, I need you to go and print this off a government website, all this nonsense, she would just lose her mind. So I just use the lawyers. We pay 100 quid a pop for a lease. I think it's money well spent. I also think there's more gravitas as a tenant when you receive it from a lawyer, a lease. Do you know what I mean? Than some random Lawson Lettings. Who knows what Lawson Lettings is? But everyone knows the major legal firm in the area. So I think there's more gravitas. So we do it that way. We require all tenants to have a guarantor now. We will not even show a property to have someone without a guarantor.
And strategy-wise, so most of what you do is buy-to-let, isn't it, Michael?
Yeah, all buy-to-let, single lets. To be honest with you, we kind of like, I've got a kind of in my mind, really clear now what I want to buy. I want to buy in streets I already have lots of properties in, to consolidate those streets, because what we found is when you're creating your own comparables, when you have lots and lots of streets of houses, you're creating your own rent comparables, you're creating your own sale price comparables. But yeah, we only do single lets. We have one exception. We have an SA in St Andrews. It's actually 9 months of the year. It's a student let, and we always pick foreigners. We all pick American or Korean or Chinese students who basically, and we always pick undergrads who basically go back to their home country, and they know it. We tell them, look, we're going to put you on a regular lease like you get in Scotland. There's only one kind of tenancy agreement in Scotland, but we expect you to move out on this day. The great thing is you're going to pay no rent over the summer.
Yeah.
And also we're going to pay for your internet for you for the year. And they're chuffed to bits because they want to go home anyway. They don't want to hang about. Amsterdam's a village, a town, sorry. But it's really small. There's nothing going on.
Golf courses, though, isn't there?
Great golf courses. It's a really golf place to be. But most of our students, they just want to go home and enjoy, be with their families over the summer. So then we Airbnb it over the summer. We've got a license for the Airbnb up in Scotland now, and that place now, and it goes like a fair. We make $5,000 a month for 3 months. And then it's, the students are paying 600 quid a month for the rest of the year. So it's a great investment, a great earner, but a lot of work.
Do you think you'd ever go back and do more of those, or have you just not got the time and the kind of the flexibility in your own schedule to be doing more of those? Because they are more work.
It's a pain in the arse, to be honest with you. I mean, honestly, people give you stupid reviews for nothing as well. A guy gave me a review yesterday, he gave me 4 stars because he said that, what did he say? The quality of the shower gel that I gave wasn't up to the spec you'd expect. I feel like saying, mate, you paid £150 and you and your 3 mates stayed in it for the night in the middle of St Andrews. You paid £37.50 a night. You're winding me up.
Yeah.
The hair gel wasn't up to spec. But you know what? You can't please everyone. The good thing
is it's a service business, service accommodation, isn't it? It is. You've got customers rather than tenants. So, and it's that kind of old adage, the customer's always right. So even if they feel that the shower gel wasn't good enough, it's kind of like, well, I need to sort of just wear that on the chin because their opinion's right.
Yeah.
What's next for you then, Michael? Obviously, keep buying more, keep doing more of what you're doing. Is there any other kind of maybe business ideas in the pipeline with regards to property?
Yeah, I mean, this year we've been trying to do a few things. So basically, we've been buying cash. We're in such a situation because we've got quite a big cash flow every month that we can try and buy a new property cash maybe every three months, something like that. We just buy another one cash if they're cheap enough,
So
we're trying to buy out any landlord that's leaving in our area, trying to buy them up. We're trying to buy portfolios. So we're trying to keep a bunch of unencumbered properties so we can go and use bridging loans to buy up big portfolios, like hoover them up when they come. So we're trying to identify portfolios in our area right now, which is a bit more challenging. I think we're going to have to look a bit more further out with our existing area, but buying some like small commercial as well. We've been buying up we bought up a couple of retail shops. We bought a tattoo parlor a few years ago. We bought a butcher shop just this year. We bought a small garage this year as well. Just tenanted commercial properties that are pretty cheap and they've got good cash flow. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of been our goal, just to kind of increase the cash flow in the business. Just worrying that we will have stuff coming off fixed rates in the next few years, and I've got stuff rolling off fixed rates that we're paying. Expats always pay more, so we were paying 4.5% on them. We're going to pay 7.7 now, so it's a big change. It's a big change, but also just whenever we can, trying to sort of renovate the houses we've got and get better rents for them as well.
So that's part of the plan, kind of improve the quality of stock, buy more, and sort of be buying from individual landlords.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, over the past 6 months, I've been doing a bit of soul searching. I kind of was, for a while, I was thinking, why am I even bothering buying any more properties? Why don't I just pay down what I've got? I mean, we make good money. If I pay down some mortgage, we'll make even better money. We've bought quality stock in quality areas. We've not bought crap. So it's going to go up capital-wise, not massively, but you will see capital growth. But then you get bored, right? So you're thinking, well, I want to be doing something. And then you see these guys doing these huge portfolio purchases in Scotland or huge HMOs in Scotland, and it's exciting, right? You're thinking, geez, I want to be part of that. So I started doing all sorts of stuff. I went away and I did this CMO course. I thought that could be a thing for me. And then I realized that's actually quite a lot of work. Then I went away and I started looking at I was going to renovate. I was going to change pubs into houses. I made an offer on a pub. Luckily, it fell through. Thank God. Because I was going to close the village pub, and I thought, I realised my name would mud if I do that.
Yeah, it might not be some unhappy punters if you do that.
Well, the problem is the poor landlord's not making any money. He averages £70 a night. That's his revenue. So he's just desperate to sell it. But
no one's going to want to be taking it on if it's producing that low an income.
You know what? It's that plus it's cost a fortune to run the place. Mm-hmm. He was doing food, but he couldn't afford the gas bill. It was just ridiculous. So, yeah. So, to be honest with you, I've gone full circle after all of this, and I'm just like, you know what?
Keep doing what I was doing.
You know what I mean? 2-bed, ex-local authority flats. ex-local authority houses, a couple of areas we're focusing on, consolidating streets. Yeah, back to where we are, full circle, which is a bit unexciting, but
yeah. But it works, and it's kind of like, if that cookie cutter is cutting out good deals for you, just keep doing it. Keep doing it.
Yeah.
If people do want to get in touch with you, Michael, how can they go about doing that?
Yeah, just Lawson Lettings. So we're on Instagram. We're not very active on Instagram. We're really active on Facebook. Check out our Facebook, just at Lawson Lettings on Facebook. We're on Threads now. So yeah, we're giving it a shot, but we're really big on Facebook. We have a lot of community engagement. I'll just temper that because we're not very I think a lot of investors go on Facebook and they'll spend their time explaining the BRR strategy and talking about motivation and stuff like that. That is not what our Facebook's all about. Our Facebook's like a local community Facebook page. We'll have things like, Mrs. Smith had a bake sale at the weekend and it made this much money for the local football team and stuff. You know what I mean? Or did anyone see we had this ship came into port the other day? It was really cool. Did you see it? It's a big sail ship. So it's not your traditional
news as much as
community news, because we have about 2,000 followers, but they're quality followers for us. They're all in our community. So when we advertise properties, we seldomly put things on open rent and stuff like that. We just stick it on our Facebook page and someone takes it. So
that's a nice way of keeping costs down as well, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. We've kind of got our own. We spent time building it up. We've done it over time. It's been a prolonged sort of thing.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Michael. Thank you for your time. And if I'm ever next time I'm out in Dubai, I'll hit you up and hopefully join your meetup.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone's more than welcome to join. Cheers.
Perfect. Thank you, Michael. Bye bye.
Thank you.